The Tau Empire is a large collection of various alien races that have come under the sway of the Tau. The Tau having 4 different castes: Earth, Fire, Air and Water, led by the Ethereal caste, who were their leaders. Hence, they're led by them. The Tau tend to favour a gunline style of gameplay, and not so much anything to do with combat, which they abhor. The Tau are either overpowered with invisible 12-foot tall walkers that bounce shots, or they're a bit below average with their fire warriors coming apart like paper. Besides their battlesuit unit, that is more where they feel like they are at the moment. But in 10th edition, they have some nice thematic rules. What do I mean by thematic? Do I mean good? When I'm talking about better rules, does it mean they're going to sweep everyone and be entirely overpowered and go back to that mess of invisible monsters, like some 1950s sci-fi? Or do I mean they've got rules that are suitable for them? That means it'll be fun to play with Tau and against Tau. Maybe the second one. We'll have to see. Their army rule, for the greater good, rewards focusing fire. So one unit, that is the guided unit, fire all of its shots against one enemy unit. And you want to keep doing this until that enemy unit is dead. You need 2 units with line of sight to the same enemy. One who becomes the observer, who points out that enemy to the others, and that other unit is the guided unit, which gets an improvement of their ballistic skill by 1. These 2 units, your observer and guided units, don't need to be near each other, so you can have a Pathfinder unit that's up on a tall building on the other side of your deployment zone. And they are the unit that you want to have in this role, as they can spot for 2 other Tau units, and they have the markerlight keyword, so the attacks of their allies ignore cover. There are 3 interesting things about this for the greater good rule. First, the observing unit can still shoot, and they suffer no penalties when they do so. Second, it is no longer a separate gun that you need to fire for the markerlight, which may miss the enemy or be modified by tricky Eldar -1 to hit rules or something like that. Third, you can essentially only get 1 markerlight on a unit, so the additions of stacking these markerlights to get more and more benefits are gone. That is good for a Tau opponent, but it also makes life easier for the Tau players because it is less to track and figure out. Maybe there's a 4th thing that's interesting, of the 3 interesting things, and that is that the guided unit's shots get worse if they're not firing at the spotted unit. So that's where you do want to be focusing an entire unit's worth of fire on one enemy. And that's pretty easy to do as the Tau, because aside from battlesuit units, most other units in the Tau gun line all have the same weapons. So you're not worrying about firing a plasma gun one way, a missile launcher another way, and all your bolt guns somewhere else. It's all going to be pulse rifles. Mostly. As an army rule, its strength is up there with Oath of Moment, as long as you have pairs of Tau units. And it is very carefully worded, so you can't have a unit that has the observer and a guided unit in like some kind of chain across your front line. The benefit of For the Greater Good is that you can keep getting bonuses to your best shooting units and pick several enemies that you want dead, not just one, like from Oath of Moment. Because this isn't all relying on one unit guiding one other and that's it. You can do this as many times as you have pairs of units in your Tau gun line. So wiping out several enemy units with this power is entirely possible, whereas Oath of Moment focuses on just killing one thing. I know that the Tau are not getting full rerolls compared to the Space Marines, but +1 to hit is generally considered better than rerolls. A second unlikely chance to hit is weaker than having a better chance to hit in the first place. But you can debate that for yourselves in the comments as you wish. Is +1 to hit better? Is a reroll better? You can decide. But both are definitely positives. So for Tau armies, you're going to want multiple small units, MSU, to act as spotters for the bigger units that have characters in them and can be boosting those larger units. That leads to a very nice balanced playstyle and a mix of different sizes of unit across the army. So you're not pigeonholed into being like the Eldar are probably going to be, multiple small units or massive blobs like the Imperial Guard. They're very much a middle ground faction when it comes to them. In fact, saying that they are somewhere between Eldar and Imperial Guard is pretty accurate, both in terms of armor, their profile, how much they like to shoot, and how many shenanigans they have. Because of course Eldar are well known for their shenanigans. So, of these multiple small units that you're going to want, one very good choice is this unit of Pathfinders. Pathfinders scout, as they do in 9th edition, and if you give them a recon drone, then they can infiltrate as well. That means they can be placed anywhere on the battlefield, as long as they are 9 inches horizontally away from the enemy deployment zone and any enemy models, like other infiltrators. Being able to infiltrate and scout is very useful if you aren't sure that there's going to be good terrain in your own deployment zone to spot from. I really like these rules. They are very narratively fitting and make sure that the Pathfinders are actually rewarded for doing their job and don't become, as they have been in previous editions, some massive pool of ion cannons and rail rifles. They actually do the spotting and then fire those ion cannons and rail rifles, because as I said, there is no penalty for being the observing. The Tau detachment is Kauyon, that is the patient hunter, and from the 3rd battle round onwards, all ranged weapons have sustained hits 1, so if you roll a 6 to hit, you score 2 hits and get to roll 2 dice to wound. While a unit is guided under Kauyon, then you have sustained hits 2. So this could mean that your massive rail cannon that rolls a 6 to hit and gets lucky is now firing 3 shots, even though it only fired 1. Science. So when the codex for the Tau comes out, I'm expecting we'll see a detachment called Mont'ka, which is all about striking first. But will there then be alien auxiliary detachments like the Daly'th, sept currently have that make Kroot and Vespid better? Could we actually see the Guevesa, human helpers, as a unit? Currently, Kroot and Vespid don't have the for the greater good special rule, but being in the Daly'th sept gives them those rules and makes them viable. That's what I'm expecting to see that particular detachment look like when the codex comes out. All these extra aliens are why I like the Tau. There haven't been any Kroot or Vespid rules shown off, and I don't think they're going to get the faction rule for the greater good in this edition. They don't currently, and only get it by being part of the Daly'th sept detachment. That is my ideal Tau army, and until their rules are better reflecting of the alien menagerie that they field, I won't be expanding my Tau beyond the half dozen models I got for free. In the lore, there is one expansion, like the 4th expansion, that went all weird and got all chaosified in the warp, and they were like, actually, we don't like all of these auxiliaries because they're the ones that get turned into warp demons on account of the Tau themselves otherwise having great resistance to the warp. The other part of lore I really want to see is some sort of actual civil war or conflict between the main Tau forces and the Farsight enclaves. They keep helping each other, then saying they're not going to help each other, and like, that's just bad diplomacy. Let's have a border conflict at least. The Tau rules there are looking very improved, and much better to play and fairer to play against. The drones are now equipment for a model, not a model in itself. So you won't be seeing something like this, where there's a battle suit that's able to ignore a melter blast because they have a gun drone that takes the 8 wounds and leave the battle suit safe. Now a shield drone adds 1 wound. Also, you won't have a commander protected from enemy fire because of a conga line of their drones being within 3 inches of a conga line of fire warrior drones. That was never the rule's intention, and this elegantly fixes the problem. So drones are now tokens that represent upgrades, with the probable exception of gun drone squads, which will probably still exist as a unit. Probably. Adding a marker drone gives the squad a markerlight keyword, and then I don't know what the shield drone would do for such a squad, besides just being a body. So maybe the tactical drone squad will not make it to 10th edition. I have no information either way on that one. But this right here is what I wanted to see from the faction-focused updates. Not, oh, look at my guns, look how powerful they are, look at this. No. Characterful rules and things that stop the game-breaking mechanics and extensive rule-keeping. Kind of like what they did with the admech. They just need a better detachment. On this one, good job Games Workshop. Just let me have a decent Kroot, Vespid, Tau human army, led by a watercast officer and a Zote. They were from 2nd edition when I started playing. So, my darlings and viewers, whatever army you play, have a great day of 40k.